You wake up at 6:47 in the morning. Your phone has been buzzing for 20 minutes with messages from your mother, 3 colleagues, and that friend who only texts you when she needs to vent. You haven't even opened your eyes yet, and you already feel that familiar weight on your chest. That weight that says, today, someone will need you. Again. Like always. Like every single day for the last 10 years of your life. You get up. Your knees creak like old wooden boards. The floor is cold. The first thing you do isn't to go to the bathroom or make yourself a coffee. No, the first thing you do is check those messages. Because if you don't respond right away, someone might think you're angry, or worse, selfish. And you can't be selfish, ever. Selfishness is the enemy. Being available is your identity, or at least it was. Today is different. Today something broke inside you. Not with a bang, not with a dramatic outburst or a theatrical outburst. It broke silently, like a rubber band stretched too long that finally gives way without even making a sound. And when that rubber band gives way, you don't explode. You simply stop. You stop responding, you stop justifying yourself, you stop being an emotional crutch for everyone around you. Carl Jung called it withdrawal of projections. Others call it disappearing. You call it survival. If you're nodding your head right now because you see yourself in every single word, leave a like now. That like tells me, yes, I've been there. Here's the part no one ever told you. When an empathetic person truly leaves, when they stop being available, when they close the door without slamming it, but simply turning away, those left behind experience psychological hell. Not because you're punishing them, but because for the first time in their lives, they have to face themselves without your help. And that, my friend, is more brutal than any shout. Let's take a step back. Who are you, really? You're that person who absorbs, who listens without judging, who consoles without ever asking for consolation. You're the one who stays up until 3 in the morning because someone's having a crisis and you, of course, can't say no. You're the one who forgets to eat because you are helping someone else solve their problems. You're the one who looks in the mirror at the end of the day and no longer recognizes themselves. Carl Jung understood all this a century ago. He spoke of individuals with innate sensitivity, people who have a superior psychological capacity to perceive the emotions of others. It's not a superpower. It's a curse disguised as a gift. Because you don't choose to absorb other people's emotions. It just happens. You walk into a room and immediately sense who's hurting, who's angry, who's lying. And instead of protecting yourself, what do? You reach out, you help, you fix, as if it were your duty to repair every emotional crack you encounter. Jung said it clearly. We can't change anything until we accept it. Condemnation doesn't liberate, it oppresses. But in these dynamics, only one person does the work of transformation. You. Always you. You adapt, accommodate, absorb. The others, they remain the same, static, comfortable in their comfort zone, built on your invisible suffering.
This is why Jung insisted on the courage to be unpleasant. For you, a sensitive person, this courage seems like a betrayal, because your entire identity has been built around being available, understanding, present. Saying no means destroying your self-image, and that's damn scary. But then that moment comes, that moment of sudden psychological clarity that Jung described in his writings. It's never dramatic. It's often triggered by something small, trivial. Maybe someone asks you a favor and you automatically say yes, as you always have. But this time, as you do it, something inside you rebels. A small but clear voice that says, "What's in it for me? When was the last time someone did something for me without me asking?" And then everything collapses. like a house of cards built on a rotten foundation. Suddenly you see everything with painful clarity. Your kindness has been interpreted as weakness, your empathy as unlimited availability, your silence as consent. And the most devastating thing? Most of the people in your life don't even know who you really are. They only know the version of you that deals with their problems. Jung called it the first step towards psychological independence. It's the moment when you stop justifying other people's behavior and start asking yourself why the hell you accepted so little in exchange for so much. Comment if you've had that moment when you finally saw the truth. Write, "I finally saw the truth." After this recognition, what Jung called the great reorientation begins. Your energy stops flowing outward and begins to return inward. It's not depression, it's not isolation, it's a conscious redirection of your psychological resources. You stop automatically saying yes, pause before absorbing other people's emotions, and above all, you begin to ask yourself questions you've never asked before. What do I really want? What do I need? Who am I when I'm not taking care of everyone else? Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." For you, a highly sensitive person, this process seems pure selfishness because you've been conditioned to believe that your value depends on your usefulness to others. Being yourself seems almost a crime. During this phase, you experience what Jung called the discomfort of authenticity. Being real feels incredibly strange when you spent years being whatever others needed you to be. You begin to set small boundaries. You say no to minor requests. You take time for yourself without explaining why. And every time, you feel that guilt eating you alive. But here's the brilliant part that Jung understood. Every boundary you set isn't just personal, it's also therapeutic for others. By refusing to enable their emotional avoidance, you force them to develop their own coping mechanisms. You force them to grow. Even if they don't see it that way, they only see that you've changed, that you've become cold, distant, selfish. And here begins the true magic of silent exit. Jung observed that when sensitive people stop hyper-functioning in relationships, what he called the vacuum effect is created. The space you once filled with your emotional labor suddenly becomes apparent, glaringly obvious, to put it in English. You stop initiating conversations. You no longer rush to diffuse conflicts. You're no longer available for the daily emotional maintenance you used to automatically provide. And the most devastating of all, you stop explaining your behavior or seeking approval for your choices. Jung called it the withdrawal of participation mystique. You no longer unconsciously merge with other people's psychological states. Instead of absorbing their emotions, you begin to observe them. Instead of solving their problems, you begin to witness their choices. Distance is your new superpower. The psychological impact on others is immediate and profound. Suddenly, they realize how much they depended on your emotional regulation, your conflict avoidance, your infinite accommodation. What seemed natural to them was actually supported by your invisible work. Without you, the castle crumbles.
If you've gone completely silent with someone who took you for granted, comment, "My silence spoke louder than any words I spoke." Jung understood that this silence isn't punishment, it's protection. You're not trying to hurt others, you're trying to stop hurting yourself. But for those accustomed to your availability, your absence feels like abandonment, because they've never learned to meet their own emotional needs.
You've always been the one doing it for them. Jung observed that when sensitive individuals withdraw their emotional support, they force others into what he called psychological responsibility. They must confront the fact that their relationship was built on exploitation rather than genuine connection. And this truth burns like acid. This is where the brutality of silent exit becomes apparent. Without your emotional buffer, others face the full impact of their own behavior. They experience the consequences of taking without giving, demanding without appreciating, using without valuing, and they can no longer hide behind your kindness. Some will respond with anger. They'll accuse you of being cold, selfish, or changed. Jung would say that this anger is actually a projection of their own shadow. They see in you the selfishness they can't recognize in themselves. It's easier to tell yourself you're the problem than to look at your own reflection in the mirror. Others will attempt what's called hoovering. They suddenly shower you with attention, promises of change, expressions of appreciation they've never offered before. Jung warned against this manipulation. He said, "Where love reigns, there is no will to power. And where the will to power predominates, love is absent." That sudden attention isn't love. It's control, disguised as regret. The most psychologically mature response, according to Jung, is when others take responsibility for their behavior and begin to do their own emotional work. But this is as rare as a unicorn, because it requires facing uncomfortable truths about oneself, and most people would rather die than engage in this kind of introspection. Jung wrote, "Knowing your own darkness is the best way to deal with the darkness of others." Your silent outburst irritates them because it reflects their own capacity for withdrawal and self-protection, qualities they've always projected onto you as negative while they were dependent on your opposite qualities. The final stage Jung identified is what he called the birth of psychological sovereignty. You've not only withdrawn from unhealthy dynamics, but you've begun to build a life based on your authentic self rather than the expectations of others. You develop what Jung called conscious empathy, the ability to feel with others without losing yourself in their experience. You can be compassionate without being compulsive about helping others. You can be sensitive without being a vessel for other people's unconscious material. And above all, you learn to trust your psychological instincts. Jung wrote, "Loneliness comes not from having no one around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. You no longer need external validation to know what's true, what's healthy, what serves your highest good." This sovereignty is what makes silent exit so brutally effective. You're not fighting against others, you're fighting for yourself. You're not trying to punish them, you're trying to preserve your psychological integrity. If you've reached the point where you've chosen peace over pleasing others, comment, "I've chosen myself for the first time." But Jung also warned of the loneliness that can accompany this phase. When you stop attracting people who need fixing, you may feel isolated until you learn to attract people who value authenticity over usefulness. It's a painful transition period, a limbo where the old you is dead, but the new you hasn't yet fully emerged. Jung understood that the empath's silent exit creates what he called the mirror effect. Your absence forces others to see themselves clearly, often for the first time in their lives. Without your emotional filter, they experience the full weight of their psychological patterns, and some don't survive this vision.
Some will never understand what happened. They'll create stories about how you've changed or become selfish, because accepting responsibility for their role in the dynamic is too psychologically threatening. It's easier to paint yourself as the bad guy than to admit you were an emotional parasite. Others will experience what Jung called a neurotic breakdown. The collapse of their old coping mechanisms forces them to develop healthier ones. This can be a gift, even if it rarely feels like one at the time. It's like surgery without anesthesia. It hurts like hell, but ultimately, it saves your life. And then there are the rare few who will use the experience, as Jung intended, as an opportunity for individuation. They will recognize that their dependence on your emotional labor was hindering their psychological growth. They will understand that they needed to learn to stand on their own 2 feet. And maybe, just maybe, they will thank you, not for going back, but for giving them that much-needed push toward emotional maturity. Jung discovered something profound about why silent withdrawal is so psychologically devastating. It's not just the loss of emotional support, it's the confrontation with what he called unlived life. When you stop allowing others to emotionally avoid you, they have to confront all the feelings, conflicts, and growth they've been avoiding. Your presence wasn't just comforting, it was hindering their psychological development. Jung wrote, "It is said that no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach hell." Your silent exit is this struggle, the assertion of individual consciousness against collective unconsciousness. It is the most powerful rebellion there is because it makes no noise, but changes everything. So here's what Jung would like you to truly understand, deep down. Your sensitivity is not your weakness. It's your strength when properly directed. Quiet exit isn't about punishing others. It's about protecting yourself long enough to become who you truly are. The people who deserve to be in your life will respect your boundaries, appreciate your depth, and meet you with mutual authenticity.
Those who don't will reveal themselves through your response to your newfound sovereignty. And you know what? That's okay. Better to be alone than in the company of people who see you merely as a function. Better silence than conversations where you can never say what you really think. Better a few true friends than 100 acquaintances who disappear the moment you stop being useful. Jung's process of individuation isn't comfortable. It's not easy. It's not quick. But it's necessary. You can't become whole while fragments of yourself are scattered among people who don't value what they've been given. You can't flourish in a soil that sucks all the nutrients out of you without ever giving you anything in return. The empath's silent exit is the most brutal revenge because it isn't revenge at all. It's revelation. When someone who has given everything simply disappears into silence, it forces others to confront the truth that Jung spent his life illuminating. Genuine relationships require mutual awareness, not unconscious exploitation. Your withdrawal is not cruelty, it is crystal clarity. Your silence is not punishment, it is sacrosanct protection. Your boundaries are not walls, they're the foundation for authentic connections. Jung said, "The first half of life is dedicated to forming a healthy ego. The second half is about going inward and letting go." Your silent exit clears the path for these authentic connections to emerge. It creates space for people who see you, appreciate you, and meet you halfway. People who don't need you to sacrifice yourself to love you. People who understand that true love isn't a one-way service, but an equal exchange of energy, respect, and presence. Your sensitivity was never intended to be a service to the unconscious. It was meant to be a bridge to a conscious life, first for yourself and then for others, ready to cross it. This is your true function, not to be everyone's savior, but to be a living example that another path is possible. Thank you for walking this path of understanding. See you in the next dimension of awareness. If this video made you feel less alone, leave a like. Tell me in the comments, I chose myself, if you made that silent exit, or I'm about to, if this is your moment. Subscribe to the channel if you want to explore Jung's deep psychology and learn to truly know yourself, not the version others want you to be. I hope you find the courage to disappoint those who expect you to remain small. See you in the next video. And remember, your silence isn't empty. It's full of you. Finally.